So, Prosper, welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on here, Daniela.
I've got to say, it's like you were born for digital marketing. Having a name like Prosper, it was meant to be.
But I must also add, Danielle, it's a name that brings along with it a lot of luggage. Can you imagine me sitting on the side of the road with a sign sticking out saying, "Hi, spare me $1. My name is Prosper." So I have to live up to it.
Yeah. And look, and that's a part of like your history in Zimbabwe, which we spoke about earlier. What I really love is on your website, you've actually got some footage that I think you're on a TV show, which was with Carl Stefanovic talking about some of your history and what led you to Australia. Is that right?
Absolutely. You see, at the
Mm.
end of the day, when you are trying to connect with an audience online, people have to know who you are, what you stand for, and where you've been. And that's the reason why I'm really passionate about helping coaches and consultants, and especially some small business owners, grow their business because I also know what it means or what it looks like to come from nothing. All right. So having my story on there, it creates that know, like, and trust so that people can actually see how far I have been and how much longer I still have to go. And if that is appealing to them, then obviously they might decide to know a little bit more about what I'm doing and want to do business with me.
Have a chat. Yeah, that's right. Now, Prosper, what I'd love to know is you've actually got a podcast called the Online Prosperity Experience. Love what you did with the name there, by the way. So tell us about your podcast. What's it about and who's it designed for?
Absolutely. So, like I mentioned earlier on, I work with coaches, consultants, and small business owners. And basically, in my prosperity experience, I'm giving actionable tactics, so that people can make sense of the digital world around them. There's so many things that are changing. There's so many things that are happening within the digital marketing space. So I listen to the frequently asked questions that my customers or some people within the um, you know business world are asking, especially when it comes to digital marketing, and then I just answer those questions in the form of the online prosperity experience. And it's basically now helping people take their business to the next level, and maybe they can use the tactics to develop stronger relationships with their employees, their customers, or their suppliers, anything that might be used, for them to have a business that's profitable and enjoyable.
Yeah. And look, I've got to say, most people struggle with releasing a podcast once a week or once a fortnight. Yet you manage to create like close to, is it 5 episodes a week? So I imagine that it takes a lot of discipline and a lot of structure. So tell us about like what routines and systems do you have to make sure that you're consistently showing up all the time?
Fantastic. It's and I really appreciate you acknowledging that, because not a lot of people can string together maybe 3 or 4 episodes consistently. So I think right now we've got about 127 episodes, and I have divided them into seasons. So each season has 50 episodes, and each and every one of them is a piece of content that if somebody would just take use of, they will be definitely able to start, scale, and grow a business that's profitable and enjoyable. One thing that I normally do is I work off of a calendar. We schedule this call right into my calendar, so I've actually scheduled time to record an episode at 12 p.m every single day that I'm working. And that's the first thing. So I've got 1 hour that if I don't record the episode, or if I don't record a podcast, I'm not doing anything within that hour. Nobody can schedule a call with me, and I don't have work to do. So I'm literally forced, and I've baked it into my daily routine to actually produce an episode, unless I'm really, really busy and something is happening behind the scenes.
Wow. That's dedication, I've got to say, to turn up each and every day. That's huge. Well done. So why podcasting? Like being a digital marketer, I imagine you have so many tools at your disposal. So Why have you chosen podcasting as one of those major tools to help get your message out there?
Absolutely. You see, the thing about digital marketing, it's an ever changing platform or system of events. The reason why a podcast has become the first thing that I wanted to create is I was really big on social media, especially Facebook. But I noticed that the algorithm kept putting me at the bottom rank, and I had to consistently produce and create for and relate to my audience. But with the podcast, you can literally structure all your content and people can find it no matter where they're starting off from, and still get all the content if they either are subscribed to you or they tune in to your podcast every now and again. So with social media, you just get to be part of the noise, but with a podcast, you can literally control the message that you're putting out there. You can literally speak to and relate to an identified audience which you craft and create, and you can reuse each and every one of the podcasts, especially in the way that I'm doing them, in a way that makes people follow the sequence and actually create time to follow up with you. People have a limited time within their business, especially the people that I work with. They are already business owners, so they're not going to give either their time or their money, or any one of these precious commodities to you unless you're providing them with something that they really want in exchange. And that's the reason why I'm making sure that the podcast is available, it's consistent, and it's got valuable information that is actionable, that people can actually use instantly for them to get results. And then eventually it makes it easy for them to come back for more.
Yeah. And look, one of the things I see with that is, like, you're right, like so many people have really super relevant content and create podcasts that they're incredibly proud of, and rightfully so. But unfortunately, I see far too many who fall over at that final hurdle where it's promoting it. So, as we all know, like there's no point creating this valuable podcast gold or content if no one knows who you are. So, let's talk about the role of digital marketing in attracting more listeners or leads. Firstly, like, let's go back to the basics. What is digital marketing? And how can our listeners use digital marketing to get into the ears of the right people?
Absolutely. So obviously that's a very very good question. Digital marketing happens to be all the systems, processes, and procedures that you undertake in order for you to bring your message to the marketplace, and it all happens, through the use of the internet. Okay, so once you have established what your message is, you now need to get out and identify who that message is for, because everyone, every customer out there is looking to either learn something, be educated, or be entertained, and also to get value from whatever interaction they're having with the internet. So your role as a business person is to create content that feeds into those desires that people have. So if your content is valuable and you know who exactly it's going for, and you're answering the question that each and every one of us has in their head, why should I care? Then obviously you will be very very successful when it comes to marketing your work out there, because not everyone is your customer. So if you identify your target market, clarify your message, and then determine what the best media it will be for you to reach to that market in order for you to deliver that message, then you, my friend, will have a business that's profitable and enjoyable.
Yeah. And I liked, there was a reference or a quote actually on your website. It said, the better you understand your customer avatar, the easier it is to get inside their head. And I really like that because I think for a lot of people, understanding who your listener is on the outset, it can sound a little bit wishy washy, but I just see so many podcasters do a bunch of episodes, almost get no traction, and then get frustrated and they lose their mojo. And all too often, it just comes back that they haven't done enough work in the early days about understanding who their listener is, or where their listener hangs out socially, like stalking, but in a social sense as well. So once someone's done their research and become really crystal clear on who their listener is, where they hang out, what are the different types of contents that you typically work with people? Like, should they sort of pick a content medium and run with that, or should they have a variety of different mediums that they use?
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right. So the better you actually understand your customer avatar, the easier it then becomes for you to get inside their head. Each and every one of us is on a journey. We are at one place and we're trying to go to someplace else. And if you understand exactly what your customer is going through, then you will be able to maybe help them navigate the the way to where to whatever it is that they aspire to reach out to. You now know what their problems are, you understand their fears, you understand their hopes and dreams. You just then create the vehicle, which happens to be your products and services, in order for them to attain whatever it is that they want. So once you know that, you now know where it is that they hang out, you understand their social media platforms, like you said, and how to actually gain their attention. Now, Daniela, ndikatanga kutaura chirudzi chausinganzonga ndinzwe.
Sorry.
Exactly. You see, I just spoke in my own language then. All right. And that's exactly what a lot of small to medium businesses are doing out there. They're just approaching the internet based on how they understand it, not how their customer actually understands how to say it. So when I spoke in my language there, to me it made sense, but to you, you were like, sorry, what's going
I was looking at the microphone going, has something true? Is there a wire loose here,
on?
or have I missed something?
Exactly. So if we understand who our target audience is, we understand what language they speak, and we also understand how they explain what they're going through, then we'll be able to create the content that they need. We know where to start, what the midpoint is, and we also know what their fears, goals, and aspirations are. Because if you can articulate somebody else's problem better than they can, then they assume you've got the solution to whatever it is that you're offering, and you just so happen to be, maybe like in your instance, maybe financial planner, in my instance digital
Mm.
marketing expert, or you could be a coach, consultant, or any other small business owner there.
Yeah, it's really important to take that step back and look at how much jargon you're using or assumed knowledge and things. And as you said, like I come from a financial planning background, and it's seriously, we have developed our own other language. It's not recognized outside the industry, and most people have no idea what we're talking about. So I completely understand that it's just, when you're in it every day, you do it without thinking, and you just need to take that step back. So, one of the questions I had then is it helpful or is it a hindrance to look at other people's maybe websites or podcasts who have got a similar topic to see where they're gaining traction and where they're getting engagement?
Right.
Or should you run just solely your own race?
You see, each and every one of us is basically doing the same thing. And the only way we can differentiate ourselves is through our story, our experiences, and what we have actually accomplished either for ourselves or for other people using the vehicle that happens to be our products and services. All right. If I would go to any other financial planner, they would tell me the do's and don'ts, where to put money and everything else, but they wouldn't have the expertise that you might have accomplished based on experience that you might have personally, either through your own investments or case studies that you might have with any other person. Any other digital marketer can do social media, podcasting, and everything else, but nobody has the story that I have. So, yes, you might look at what other people are doing, but the other people are not sitting and doing interviews like this and creating yet another source of content that their people can get to know, like, and trust them. What you see is just a facade of what people think is the best practice or whatever it is. We're not seeing the whole work that is happening behind the scenes. We're not seeing all the emails that you're sending. So yes, You might look at what somebody else is putting across, but that's only a fraction of the actual strategy that they're using behind the scenes in order for them to attract their customers and also be in front of the people that matter to them.
Yeah. And so, how do you measure what's working and what's not when it comes to a digital marketing strategy?
It's the responses that you get from people. How many people are coming to you and saying, because of you, I haven't given up? How many people are coming to you and saying, because of you, I'm now in a better position than I was when I started? I believe those are the rightful responses. Yes, we might have metrics, numbers, or followers and things of that nature, but I also follow some podcasts that I don't listen to. So, yes, I could be counted as a subscriber, but am I engaged? Am I actually utilizing the content and the information that is being delivered each and every single day? I believe it's the people that write you back, it's the people that give you a testimonial, and it's the actual people that allow you to use them as a case study to say, you know what, I'm happy for you to actually say, yes, we got X, Y, and Z results predicated on what it is that we've used. All these other matrix are vanity matrix. I used to have a lot of likes on Facebook, and you're a financial planner, you'd understand this. You can't take likes to go and buy a house. The banks don't look at them as matrix. How many people are actually buying from you? How many people are actually referring clients to you? And how many people are actually happy to recommend work to you? I think that's what we should be measuring.
Absolutely. I think that you're spot on. And the question to ask yourself here is, what's more important to your podcast? Like a podcast that connects with people deeply or one that travels far and wide? But usually, if you get that first part of it right, the latter's going to follow. So, really looking at, is your message connecting with the right people? So, I suppose that's one of the things too, in terms of, I'm, you deal with all different people and businesses from different walks of life, and not just podcasting. But I think the other thing here to mention is not getting, as you said, not getting too caught up in some of those metrics, but also giving yourself time for it to grow and get momentum. Because often you're not going to, I'm assuming with digital marketing, you're not going to get results, put a strategy in place, and 2 weeks later, all of a sudden the phone's running off the hook.
Oh, absolutely. You see, when it comes to any strategy, when it comes to any um, way of getting a result, there's always the waiting period. Okay, there's no way that you could just show up if you're buying top of the range cars or anything within the marketplace, even our own kids. We they just don't grow to be an adult within 3 days. Okay, and that's what we also need to give our content, our work, and maybe our businesses time to grow. All right, because then it's in the growth that we actually learn what works and what doesn't work. Because if it just explodes, we wouldn't be able to handle that massive growth. It's just like when somebody wins a windfall of money. They haven't put in the systems and processes in place to make sure that that money triples itself or multiplies itself. So the only thing that they have is a cash account where the money comes in and it goes. All right, so you need that time to grow in order for you to be able to handle the pressure that comes with that virality. You wouldn't be able to handle an actual million emails coming through your systems right now, even though you want a million followers. If every one of those people writes you an email, you wouldn't be able to handle it. So you need to grow into the person that's able to handle pressure when it comes in. Even I was actually laughing at this over the weekend, and I was trying to work on an analogy of fireworks. That's why with fireworks you have that code that that connects the match and the actual fireworks. Can you imagine if the moment you strike a match, the firework exploded in your hands. We wouldn't have a lot of people, in this world if we didn't have that igniter cable that gives you time to run away and hide, and then lets the firework explode. All right. For lack of a better example, I just thought that would be an instant.
Absolutely. You need some reaction time. And I remember reading in your ebook, you had a really good example of McDonald's. Like when they first started out, they used to offer like a really sort of a plethora of different options. And then they learnt what worked, what didn't, and they narrowed it back to what was it, hamburgers,
And
fries, and
milkshakes.
milkshakes. And they were able to, yeah, and they were able to scale and go from there. But if they had have only just started with those three, they probably wouldn't have got the learnings that they did get, and maybe not have been as successful as what they are today.
Absolutely. See, each and every one of us is maybe selling three or four different products, okay? And there are some products that are really good money earners, and there's some products that really help us grow our brand, and there's some products that actually help, solidify us with cash flow. And then when you notice which products are actually giving you the most profit and, the biggest peace of mind, that only happens with time and actually testing all of that on live humans, live customers that are actually paying you money in order for them to enjoy those services. And when you then find the right products, then you just work on creating that instead of spraying and praying with your marketing and your product offerings and just hoping that somebody somewhere is just going to knock on your house's door and say, yeah, just give me just about everything else that you want. You know what I mean? You need to make it easy for people to engage with you. You need to make it easy for people to buy from you. And if you give people so many different offerings, they develop what's called inertia. And then inertia means they're not going to do anything. There's paralysis of analysis, so to speak. And you are hurting your chances. But if you've got very few products, and then when people come in, you just simply ask them, hey, would you like fries with that? That will be the next logical option that people would say, oh, yeah, of course. It wouldn't be, a complete meal without fries with it. Instead of you telling people, you get all of this, you get all of this, and then they just get confused and they walk away, maybe having just bought a milkshake and not, and that doesn't give you, a really good return of your investment in all the work that you're putting out there to attract them in the first place.
Yeah. And I like that you brought up around that analysis paralysis. When there's too many options, people tend to do nothing. And that's kind of what I find sometimes with podcasters is that building momentum and building a loyal audience, it actually takes time. And there's so many different options that are out there. So from your experience, for someone who's going, okay, I really want to start to grow my reach and get more listeners, what are three or four things that you think that they should start to implement now just to get their podcast more noticed? What's three or four practical steps that they could take straight away?
Absolutely. I will start off with the three M's of marketing that people always forget. We've already touched on the one, which is identifying your target market, right? And then the second is clarifying your message to make sure that people have an understanding of who you are, what you're doing, and why they should care. That way you can be able to engage with them, educate them, and then inspire them to want more, be more, and have more. And then the last thing is determining what is the best media for you to reach out to that audience. Okay, so let me start off with identifying your target market. Like I said, see, when you know exactly who you're going out for and what they're going through, it now becomes your role to help them make sense of the world around them so that they don't have to go through all the learning, all the obstacles they might face. All right, if your product is the one that can help them take away all of that pain. And then if you understand that your job is helping other people live better, do well, and have a happier existence, you will be definitely moved to want to help those people achieve more of what they're achieving. All right. And the more you start clarifying your message so that the right kind of person with the right kind of pain can raise up their hand and say, hey, I think this guy is talking to me. It makes it super, super easy, because a lot of us are just spraying and praying. Okay, I got a microphone. Yeah, I've got maybe 10 topics that I want to talk about, and then that's it. They haven't really decided what it is that they're going to be putting out there. Now, if you look at my podcast is to help people make sense of the digital world around them. There's always something new. Facebook was once Facebook, now it's Meta. A lot of people haven't caught on to that whole spectrum. And then when they woke up to what Meta was, Elon Musk had just bought, Twitter, and now it's going to change the whole spectrum of what it looks like. And we're now learning that TikTok is not a social media platform; it's an entertainment platform. So TikTok is not anything different to what Netflix is. So all of those things are things that are going to be concerning my ideal audience, and I want them to rest easy knowing that all of that, I'm going to go out and look out for that information and just bring it to them in a condensed version, which makes it easy for them to understand between the time they wake up and the time they come back from the gym in a 30-minute episode. So for me, I've got my work cut out for me. Why am I showing up every single day? So that I can help people navigate the internet. And whenever something happens within the internet, I'm like, yes, this is an episode. All right. This is a reason for me to show up. All right. So a lot of people start the podcast maybe backwards. They want to create something that will put them on the pedestal. Nobody cares about you. People care about information that helps them. So if you start with the customer's intentions and hopes and dreams in mind, it makes it super, super easy for you to actually engage with them and for them to seek you out. You know why? Because you are helping them navigate things that would have taken them otherwise 5 years to learn. So that's identifying your target audience. And when you've clarified your message, I'm just showing up every single day. I'm trying to make the world easy for you. Now, who can turn me away if I'm doing something to help you instead of you having to comb through 30 or 40 different blogs every single day before you have your cup of coffee? I've done it for you in a 30-minute episode plus dead jokes in between. You know what I mean? And then pretty much you also need to then determine. So we've got your identified your target market, and then you now have clarified your message, and people know why it's easy for them to connect with you every single day, because I'm making their digital life easy. Right. I then have to determine the frequency of how they're receiving this message. Does it have to be an everyday thing? Does it have to be a once a week, or does it have to be a once a fortnight, or does it have to be a once a month thing? And then I become consistent. You know why? Because every single time you are in somebody else's ear, you're displacing something else that they could be listening to that could move them forward. So you gotta respect that time, and you gotta make sure that you're consistent about it, right? Otherwise, it's you just wasting everybody else's time. And I think that's the one thing that a lot of people, then find very difficult, because maybe within themselves they feel like, why should I be the one documenting? Why should I be the one speaking to this audience? Right. And that's where a lot of people then fail to continue with the episodes, because it takes time for people to warm up to your voice, to warm up to your jokes and everything else. It's something that has to be done consistently. Even radio DJs, they go in, they're always on the radio at a given time up until they're probably 10 years, 15 years into the job. That's when they're given prime time air. Most of them start off at 3 a.m. when nobody else is listening to the radio. So it's something that takes time for people to get used to your voice. People like myself have a different accent. So, I can hear you really straining for some words there, Danielle, to listen to what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So when you've identified your target market, work super hard to clarify that message and determine whether podcasting becomes the actual channel that you can deliver consistently. Because with what we then do, I'm English is not my first language. So I then use that podcast as a blog because it gets transcribed. Well, my team does that, and then we get content out of that. All right. And we also create an email where we then send that email to our audience, either prospects or people that are already within our customer base. And it's yet another excuse for me to stay top of mind to people that might be thinking of working with me. Here, I created this for you. You do whatever you want with it. So maybe some people don't have that created or baked into their podcast, and then they're just hoping Spotify or Apple is going to do the distribution for them. But if you actually then use your podcast as yet another excuse for you to show up on somebody else's newsfeed on social media, as an excuse to show up on somebody's inbox, then you've tackled all the three important aspects that makes your podcast journey an enjoyable process for both you and the listener. You've identified who it is for, and those that are not going to be for that audience obviously are not going to waste their time listening. And you've actually clarified what your message is in the shortest amount possible. Why should anybody care to listen to what you're saying? And now you are determining what media you're going to reach out to those people with. And once you've gotten that right, I would then pose a question, to you and say, if what you're doing is very important, who are you to decline your audience from receiving that important message? And I believe if you're a person who really, really knows what it is that they're doing, and how useful their work is to the audience that they're receiving out to, then you show up at the designated time for you to deliver that message in order for people to have a happier existence.
Absolutely. And it's recognizing what you're creating is so valuable. I think when things come really natural for us, we assume that it becomes it's natural for everybody else, but it's not. So you need to show up and you need to keep getting that message out there. So Prosper, I've thoroughly enjoyed our chat today, and I've got a page here where I've been scribbling notes for me as well in my business. But like, how can people find out more about you and learn about the work that you're doing in the digital marketing space? How should they reach
Oh,
out?
absolutely. And I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity on your podcast. So, I do have a podcast that's on every platform that you can think of, Spotify, Apple, Listener, and all those other places. And it's called the Online Prosperity Experience. So, you can definitely jump on, just listen to one episode, and you will definitely get a glimpse of how you can, if you're in business, generate hundreds of qualified leads, high ticket leads like clockwork, so you never have to rely on either cold calling, emailing, just to beg clients to hire you. I make it super easy to do the hard things in digital marketing, and I show up every single day with my podcast.
Wonderful. And your website, what's the best website to go to find you?
Absolutely. So
Because I know I stalked your website and I found lots of great content there. So I don't want to let that one go.
absolutely. So obviously, live long digital. It's a bit of a play on words there, live long and prosper. So if you just type in those words, I'm an SEO expert, so I've made sure that at least if you type in live long or live long and prosper marketing, all the stuff that I'm doing is around prosperity, prosper, and a play on words around that theme. So livelongdigital.com.au.
Wonderful. Prosper, thank you so much. I really have enjoyed our chat today. Um, I know I say it all the time, but I just wish like I could chat to you even longer. Like I came up with this idea of like 30-minute podcasts, but I'm sure there's so many more nuggets of gold. So we'll have to get you back on the show and pick your brain another time if that's okay.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed how you reached out and how simple the process is. It just is testimony to the amount of work that you do behind the scenes, which we were talking about earlier on. People only see the finished product, but they don't see the effort that actually goes into creating something like this. So I really applaud you for creating something useful, something that your clients would thank you forever, because it's people like you and I that actually make the changes that we want to see in the world, even if it's one episode at a time. So kudos to you for choosing that.
Thank you, Prosper. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being on the show.